Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of LEGO Arts. Last episode, we did a showcase on Wallace and Gromit. And this episode, we're taking a look at an oldie but goodie with the remakes of Five Nights at Freddy's, the original 4 animatronics. So we have the whole crew here with Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. See, these guys were on my to-do list of like figures to remake for quite a long time, especially that I made those a few years ago. I think around the time that I was working on Bendy and Ink Machine, or a little bit afterwards, and I was fine with those figures at the time, but of course, like, over the course of the years, I look back at those and think, I could do so much better, so FNAF was on my to-do list of, like, stuff to remake for a while, and then one day I saw Venom.7777 had made these awesome FNAF heads of the original 4 animatronics, and decided that it would be a good opportunity to try and remake some of those figures. So I managed to get like all 4 of these heads, and similar scenario with Wallace and Gromit, I just kept them in storage for the time being, and then as I was working on the Ragnarok project as well as the Batman family, I decided that while I was doing painting up with Wallace and Gromit, I thought about, you know what, let's go ahead and finally remake those Five Nights at Freddy's minifigures. So these are the same figures that I used beforehand, but with brand new heads, some new detailing, and these look so much better than the previous ones, which we will explain to in a bit. So, as you guys know the drill, we're going to take these minifigures one at a time, do them, explain the process while we're with this route, and then go from there. So without further ado, let's get the pedestal out and get the show on the road. So first up is the main star of the show, Freddy Fazbear himself. Now with this figure, like, I think was one of the more easier ones to do, as I was mostly focusing on just repainting up the head, and at first I was just going to leave the body as it was, but the more I looked at it, the more I decided to really touch up on the detailing with it, and try to smooth out like some of the detailing to like make it at least cleaner than before. The head, like, as I said, this was made by Venom, and he really nailed like accuracy with Freddy from the game. And for the game itself, like, you can really see all the detailing that he put into it, including like adding on like with the eyebrows and whatnot, and you can see a little bit of it, but the eyes actually, like where the pupils are actually detailed in. So the biggest challenge really was just like painting up around with the eyes, as well as a little bit on the mouth. You can see a little bit on the mouth. You could see of like the teeth underneath there. It was slightly tricky of just painting those whites without making sure that the white paint wouldn't either like obscure too much or bleed out onto the rest of the figure. But I was able to clean it up as best I could, and it does look much better than how it started out. The microphone is basically the same like as before. Before with Freddy, like, figured to get it out of the way. And further on with the head. And head, again, like, really nailed an accuracy detailing, like, especially the top hat. The top hat looks like a really clean detail with it, and taking it back, especially if you compare it to my first Freddy head. You can tell of looking at this of like, what the fuck was I doing? And I do not have an answer for you. When starting out with the head at the time of like, I was fine with the eyes. The eyes were good. I think like my biggest concerns, and so it's like my biggest like criticisms that I would give for myself would be like either like sculpting the ears, making the top hat comically large, or probably the mouth, especially those cursed teeth. Like, gotta hand it. It's just like, this looks so weird. Yeah, so weird. So definitely appreciate like this new head design, as it looks so much better. Much better. And then like with the rest of the detailing, at first I was just like keeping it clean of like just painting up around the brown, but then I decided to like, you know what, since we're just fully painting up the head, let's go ahead and try and give this whole guy a makeover to like really polish it and smooth it out, and it looks much better. The bow tie, like, move the light a little bit so we can clearly see it. So you can see like the bow tie is actually, it's cleaner, it's smoother than before, like it's kind of a testament of like showing up with these new skills and adding more onto it. Like, it's much smaller, but it still is much better in accuracy to it. Because the last one, it was pretty much just, I think I took just a paintbrush and tried to like just paint it on there, and it was comically large, really large, like the top hat. So it was much nicer That's nicer and much more smoother detailing. He doesn't really have much articulation, but honestly, Freddy in the game doesn't really have any at all. Like, they don't really give the animatronics movements until like FNAF Security Breach. They're mostly just statue figures. But even then, like, it's really good, like, appearance-wise, so much cleaner than the other one, and again, like, much more accurate than beforehand. So finally being able to chance to upgrade this guy was definitely a pleasure. Moving onwards, we have everyone's favorite rabbit, Bonnie. This one, I'd say, was probably the trickiest one to do, especially when it comes to recoloration with this guy. So when taking a look at my original Bonnie head, which, again, not very good. I used completely different colors with this guy. Like, just used dark blue and a light egg blue, or I think it was like sky blue. I blue for the mouth as well as the ears, and honestly, is not very good. You really can't even see the detailing of like the eye sockets and everything, because it blends in too much. And so one of my biggest things that I wanted to do was to give Bonnie a good coloration, as well as like make sure the detailing stands out so you can clearly see it better. So I mixed together sort of my own blue with like various colorations of blue. I think it was like peacock blue, dark blue, and even used a bit of like indigo and purple to mix together into sort of like this color and like this mixture blue color that actually looks really good. Like, it really does look pretty good, as well as like there's various versions of Bonnie of him, like either he's purple or he's blue. So I feel that like this one is sort of a good representation of like the two mixed together as it's like Bonnie's primary colors. So it's really, really good. The guitar is the same as well. Like I was mostly just focused on wanting to repaint the figure, as the props. They're still fine. Like, obviously not the prettiest, but they still do a good job of representing the characters. Of course, when it came to like painting up this guy, it required like brand new detailing, so I had to go back in and completely just redo everything. But it did also provide me the opportunity. Same thing with Freddy's bow tie of finally fixing up Bonnie's. That one was even. It looked even more messed up. So I was really, really glad that I was able to fix that. And for this, for like his mouth as well and his torso, I painted it up with like a robin's egg blue, and just lightly painted it on there, which does look really good. It really nails up with the detailing. Eyes were a bit tricky to do. Like, I'd say the eyes for all of these heads were the trickiest things, as they're like small areas that I was trying to make sure I wouldn't overpaint it, as well as like keeping up with the detailing of it. But I'd say I nailed it pretty good. And Venom again did an amazing job of getting the accuracy with this. I did, though, do my own little modification with the head because when the head came in, only these two bottom ears were on Bonnie's head, and I double checked. He does have two ears connected to him, So I took like some Procreate clay and just slightly sculpted on the top part of his ears, which I feel that like really completes like the overall head design, and really, really good. Very good. So overall, again, like, this one was probably my toughest because of, like, the repaint and because needing to, like, figure out the paint job. And it was actually the last one to do. But moving past that, this guy looks so much better than the previous Bonnie. Probably my favorite of the remakes, because of, like, the detailing of it just really nails it down. Next up, we have Chica the chicken. With this one was, I believe, my third one to get down to. And primarily, when it came to painting this one up, came more of like, same thing with Bonnie, but less difficult, because with this one, it has a brand new recoloration of the yellow paint, as I used a brighter one this time, which really does blend in well with the character. The head, again, done by Venom, and again, amazing job with the accuracy on this one, like, really, really good. And get accuracy. Let's see if we can move the cupcake down just a bit. Cupcake is still the same. And same thing with the torso. Like, I outlined the bib this time. And I do have some better tools when doing this, but I didn't want to go through of, like, the whole repainting the let's eat again. Like, it's still okay. But definitely would be better better in the future. But I didn't want to go through that again, as I was primarily just focusing on, okay, I just wanted to repaint up the head as well as like the rest of the body. Just do sort of a quick project with this one. Now, outlining wise, with like the arms and legs, probably the cleanest, of them. As this one was pretty simple to do. The eyes, like similar scenario with the other ones. Like a bit of a pain to do, especially with that white paint. And then lightly painting on the irises to make sure that like it wouldn't bleed into the pupil or bleed too much on the white. But much nicer. And once again, cringe comparison with the heads. This one's much better. I honestly cannot tell you what I was thinking of when making this one. Again, this one, like, I'm not sure if this one's one of the better ones or one of the worst ones. Worst ones of them. It just looks very off, especially those cursed teeth. I think that's my biggest takeaway with all of them. It's like just the teeth. And this one is the only one that actually doesn't have like any printed teeth. But thankfully, it's not too bad. When it came to attaching the head though it was a bit of a pain because with the head, and because this head was super loose on this body. But I solved that solution by using like clear nail polish, and just coating on the socket that connects the body to the head, and just applied it on there to give it like a firm grip, and make sure that the head isn't quite as loose. And then like the paint, I'm fairly certain that the paint also worked into the factor of like just sealing it up completely. But I'm fine with that. As again, like these figures are mostly just to be kind of like statue figures, as in the game you don't really see them move. And it still passes off as a good figure. Like I would like to fix that bit one day to like give it better writing. But moving past with that, the head definitely does make it look better, and definitely a much nicer figure than beforehand. And last but certainly not least on our list is Foxy the Pirate Fox. Now, in comparison with the other ones, this one is definitely one of my favorite FNAF minifigures because of how unique it really was, and I still like the approach that I had with the overall design for the figure. So first, getting out of the way, the head design from Venom really nailed it, and then with like the accuracy for Foxy. Foxy was really, really cool. I especially like we got the eye patch, and it even carries all the way around the head, even though we rarely get to see like behind the heads of the animatronics. I do like that he carries that eye patch over onto it. I think like the most difficult thing when it came to painting this guy was painting up the teeth of just like the individual teeth on each of them. And I even looked back and found out that some of them are actually like golden teeth, which makes sense because he's a pirate. So if we move the light a bit, you could kind of see some of the teeth. I tried to add in that like gold plating with them. Plating like with some of the teeth, while still trying to keep it up like good on like appearances like overall, and it's still like nailed it pretty well, with the overall design of it. Like again, Venom did an amazing job at this. Now comparing with my old sculpted head, not gonna lie, out of all the FNAF heads that I did for these figures, this one is probably the one that I don't hate. And I don't hate it all. Like, it's not perfect, but comparison to the other ones, this was like one of the better ones that I did. And I think I even talked about how this one was my favorite. And it was my favorite design. Like, I did like the paint detailing that I did on like the teeth and everything. The only thing that I didn't really do was on the top and give him like the top hairs, which honestly I did not notice that until like way later. And it was already like, you know what, the figure's already done. He was already done and painted up everything, so I don't really want to concern myself with that. And that's comparison-wise, like, obviously this head is still better, but compared to the other ones, this one wasn't quite as terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. And overall, like, the rest of the figure, like, same thing with Bonnie. Anything with Bonnie, it's just, like, just went back and, like, repainted up, the detailing it with and everything. I did have to use a new reds to blend in, to make the whole figure blend in. And then as I thought that, like, when painting up with this head, like, oh, it blended perfectly. No, it stuck out like a sore thumb, so I went back and just went ahead and repainted the entirety of this figure, and it's still, amazingly, like, one of the things about it is that it still works. Like, I like the approach that I did with this one because because I remembered of like when I wanted to make this guy, I wanted it to be as close with the game. And when you look at the game, he's always the one animatronic that's always broken. He's broken, and you can see parts and pieces of his endoskeleton. Especially on like his feet and his arms. So I wanted to capture that when I was making this guy, and still to this day, it nails the overall idea with it. So, and complete with the new head, it really completes the figure. And this one still stands out as like one of my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's minifigures. Like, obviously my skills have improved since then, but looking back at it, like I'm glad for the update on the head. But keeping up still with the body and everything, it's still one of my favorites. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of LEGO Arts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And again, these figures turned out so much better than before. Like, I will cut myself some slack of how like those were back in my earlier days of like experimenting with like air dry clay, as well as like painting skills. I have gotten better when it comes to like painting on detailing and stuff like that. So I'll give myself credit for that. But again, in comparison, like with these brand new head designs, it really makes them stand out so much better, and like so much smoother. It's also nice to like go back to some of these older projects and see if I can improve upon them with like newer skills and everything. So these were definitely a nice comeback too, as I do like the end results to them. I think Venom is still selling some of these on his store page. So if you want to check out like some of his stuff, as well as like take a look at some of the other awesome stuff that he's created, I'll include a link to it in the description below. You could also check out, if you want to see like the comparison of the other Five Nights at Freddy's showcases that I've done, you can check them all out on my LEGO Arts playlist. This probably might be my last FNAF showcase for a bit, as with the other FNAF figures, I don't really have any plans of going back and remaking the entire series of it. If I do that, that would probably be like, at some point if I decided like, you know what, I want to remake particularly the heads, like sculpting of the heads in particular is one of the things. And this also has given me insights to potentially redo some of my Bendy minifigures for the Bendy and the Dark Revival showcase, which I am getting close to figuring out the final characters that I'm going to be making with those. Once I figure out who all I'm going to be making, who all I'm going to be making. Sorry, I'm stuttering. I'll put together the plans to start on that project. And the God of War Ragnarok project is coming along very good. I'm beginning planning out on ideas for the display that I plan to put for the showcase, as I'm really excited for that. As well as Batman Family, it's pretty much done. There is one piece that I am waiting for one of the characters, but honestly, I could do the showcase now and just do like sort of an update bit once that one particular part comes in. So I don't know if that will be the next episode or if it will be something else, but Batman Family is pretty much good to go. And overall, that is going to be it. So if you guys would like to see more episodes like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notifications. It really helps us work in the last place, LEGO projects, and we have some fun. So overall, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, come over for today, share your friends, subscribe to me, follow me on Twitch. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Bye-bye!